Thanks for watching another Why Did They Create Our Simulated Universe series, where we go right ahead and assume that we are in a simulated universe and ask what this advanced civilization is up to and the reasons we might find ourselves in a simulation. So why did they create our universe? An end to the guessing game. Ask yourself, if you could look into your own future, would you take a little peek? We always talk about the simulations being an ancestral simulation. In other words, a simulation set to view the past. But what if it could go the other way? In theory, it could be argued that if you were to simulate the exact, and I mean exact, conditions of our very own Big Bang, you would have essentially created an exact copy of our very own universe. Now, this really puts the determinism versus free will debate to the test, which we'll talk about later. But again, in theory, recreating the same conditions of our universe into a simulation, you might just have an exact copy from the Big Bang all the way to the end of the universe. Once you've programmed all the same conditions of the Big Bang into the simulation, all you have to do is fast forward until you get to your time or push right past that into the future. You would speed past quantum fluctuations, the first birth of the stars 400 billion years ago, the creation of our galaxy, our solar system, our Earth. You move right past the birth of life, give it a dash of a few billion years of evolution, catch up to the present. But then we keep going until we fast forward enough to see what we're going to have for breakfast the next day. Gross. Now, like I mentioned, there are a lot of problems and assumptions for this to work, which we'll get into later, but just imagine for a moment the power of a one-for-one universe simulation. You would have all the variables you would need to see your complete timeline, your past, your present, and your future. Could you imagine what a corporation would be willing to do in order to get their hands on that kind of information? It would be the ultimate in market research and product proof. Hell, this entire universe might have been spun up just to test out that new zit cream that's going to market soon. Or imagine how knowing the future would apply in war, how we're going to evolve as a species, politics, the dangers of climate change, artificial intelligence. There is a lot of power in knowing the future, and it's pretty clear that if it could be done, advanced civilizations would be all over it. So, now for the pesky problems with this theory. Problem number 1. The universe would have to be 100% deterministic for this to even start to work. If free will is true, by its very own definition as undetermined and basically unpredictable, then we could simulate all day long, spinning off simulated universes to our heart's content. But every universe would eventually be different and therefore create unreliable future timelines. You can't predict the future if you can't predict what someone is going to do. So for this virtual time machine to work, free will must be an illusion. Problem number 2. Is it even possible to make an exact copy of a universe within itself? This one hurts my brain. So here's another way to think about this. Does the universe have enough resources to copy itself within itself? Take a computer as an example. Can you make a perfect copy of a computer to run within itself? We're talking about all its processing power, its memory, its digital storage, all the data it needs to run, the simulation software itself, and copy all of that and paste it within itself and run it from within itself. Well, you really can't. But maybe one way around this problem is if we run the simulation only to include a small part of the universe. Say just our galaxy, so we don't need as much processing power. But the rest of the universe would ultimately affect the rendered galaxy in some way, so you can't just not render it. But there might be a way to lower the render, say like the difference between Pong and Skyrim, which is where all the processing power really goes, right? But okay. You can see the circular problems here. I'll leave that one for you guys to ponder. Problem number 3, the old time travel paradox. As soon as you see a future timeline and decide not to make a change, wouldn't that affect the universe and the simulation? So wouldn't that make them both now inaccurate? But shouldn't the simulation take into account the choice and effect you would make to change the future? But then, what if you decided not to change it, thus making them both inaccurate again? It's that same old time travel paradox, but reversed. Instead of killing your grandpa, you'd be killing your grandkids. Not cool, brah. So you can see, we'd basically be dealing with what would be a virtual time machine, and it opens up all those fun, timey-wimey paradoxes all over again. Maybe someone smarter in the comments can untangle that mess. There are a lot of problems with running a simulation, at least one that's an exact copy of our universe. But who knows, a smarter civilization might have untangled that mess, and your entire life's purpose in this simulation is to try out that new zit cream. Thanks again, guys, for watching another TheoryInk video. As always, there's a sister blog post at TheoryInk.com. It even goes into a possible solution for that rendering problem we discussed. And please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more in this series. I have a ton of fun doing these, and comment if you'd like to see something in particular as well. Do you have your own theory we can deep dive into? Thanks, guys, and stay pondering.